Hey, welcome back. Todd Duvall here with yet another video. This is going to be a little bit lengthy. And to make it worth your while, I'm going to give away 2 $100 Amazon gift cards. Now, you're going to have to watch the whole video to qualify for it. Hopefully some of you will. I know this seems dry and boring, but it's some really good information that you can use and share with other people. These are the reasons why we are not going to have a housing crisis. There's not going to be a crash. Trust me on this. And when you see this data that I'm showing you, you're going to understand it. Now, the drawing for that card, or for those cards, is going to be held Friday, October the 13th. October, Friday the 13th. Make sure you get everything done beforehand, and I'll tell you some more details shortly. Now, I know you're worried about us having a housing crisis, and there's some people saying we are, but there are too many factors that say we are not going to. And this is hardcore data. It's coming from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Realtor.com, National Association of Realtors, Statistica, you name it, Redfin even. A lot of information out here, a lot of data. So if you want to qualify for one of these gift cards, keep hanging on, all right? All right, the 5 reasons why. Number 1, and these are no in particular order. I think one has more bearing than the others, but that's an opinion. The rest of this stuff is fact. You can read it. You can find the data. Okay, number 1 reason. The baby boomers and the Gen Xers are not bringing any homes to the market. You've heard the silent generation, and I'm sure you have. Most of those folks are in a nursing home, living with family, and those homes have come to market and been sold. The baby boomers and the Gen Xers, they're still buying vacation homes. They're buying second homes, investment properties, Airbnbs, you name it. And they got the most equity. They can buy a house with cash because they've got equity. The baby boomers stay in their houses an average of 16 years. Gen Z is 4. So a lot of equity there. So they either do a HELOC, cash out, refi, and don't have to sell their home and buy another home, investment home or what have you. Then they don't have to get a loan for it or to buy a house through a loan. Sorry, they can just pay cash. That's a pretty good deal. So they have a lot of buying power right now. I mean, a tremendous amount of buying power. In fact, 39% of the houses sold last year, let me find that number. 39% of home purchases between June of 21 and June of 22 were boomers. The year before, 2019 to 20, or 20 to 21, was only 29%. So that's a huge jump. So that just shows you they got all the power. They got all the money. And so you're competing with them and others, and we'll talk about those later. With all that buying power, it's really tough to compete with them. Plus, they're not bringing any homes to the market. Same with Gen X. In the same time period, June of 21 to June of 22, the Gen Xers bought 24% of all homes sold in that same period. That's 63% of homes bought by 2 generations. And that leaves the rest of the Millineals and the Gen Zs with the rest. So no, boomers and Xers are not bringing anything to the market, and they're making it more tough for other people that are entering the housing market because they're snatching up these lower price ones for investments or rentals or second homes, what have you. So that's a big problem, and these interest rates are so high right now that it's not affect. The boomers aren't affected. They can either have a home equity line of credit, they can take a cash out refi, they can sell their home, but they're not going to. Most of them are not. Keep in mind, that's where we are right now. They've got all the cash, the high interest rates, and they're going to keep buying homes. And the rest of the folks, they can't swing that right now with little or no down payment and have a hard time making a 7% interest rate payment. You're going to be on the sidelines for a while until you find something else. Now you can buy a lower price home, and you may have to find a realtor to help you find that. Shameless plug, and it's not just for me, but if you are seeing this and you're anywhere else in the country, let me know. I can help you find a realtor in any part of the country. I've got friends all over the country. We have, meetings and we have we call them family reunions, but they're retreats. I don't know what they are. We all get together, thousands and thousands of us. So I know a lot of people across the country. I can help you find the realtor for you, but you need a good realtor, a really good realtor, one that you can trust. Okay? I think I did a TikTok on that not too long ago. So if you don't trust your realtor, fire them. Get another one. Got a video coming out about when and how you can fire your realtor. Stay tuned for that one. My son is going to help me with that one. He's 9. You'll get a kick out of him. Number 1's done. Let's jump to number 2. Now this one I think is the biggest player in this right now. Again, that is what I think. I'm not really sure, but it kind of looks that way. I don't have hard numbers on that, so I'm not going to tell you. But I think this is the biggest culprit. And I mean, we can't blame them, you know, but there's the reason that we have low inventory right now. And that is, drumroll please, the construction industry. Now, I'm not here to throw shade on the construction industry because we love our contractors. We love them a lot. They build great homes for us, and they take a lot of input from us while they're building the home. They do a lot, and they're doing their best to keep up. But man, it is hard. Think about this. In 2006, the construction industry pretty much shut down. Now, they didn't stop altogether. They were building from 1959 to 2006 an average of 1.1 million homes a year. Throughout that entire period, they built almost 53 million homes. So that, you know, that gives you an average of 1.1 annually. Took a big step back in 2007 to 2020. That's 14 years. And they built only 10 million homes, roughly 700,000 annually. And they have not returned full steam until 2020. So you take 1.1 and 700,000, that's about 400,000 that we're short, okay? Add that by the number of years, and you've got somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5, maybe 5 million homes that we're short. That's a lot of houses that we're missing. And all these millennials, all, you know, buying homes right now, looking to buy homes, there's a bunch of them, and those houses are not there because they haven't been built yet. Think about this as well. Home starts in 2020, when the construction period started back. The first year they came back, at 2020, was 990,000. If you take 990,000, that's still below the 1.1 million. So we're going to still be building a deficit every year. We're going to build a deficit until we can build at least 1.1 million. But if the construction industry can build 1.5 million homes a year, that's 400,000 more than what they did average, and it's 500,000 more than what they did last year. To dig into that deficit, they would have to build at least 1.5 million homes a year. But even at that pace, it would take them 13.8 years. Let's say it would take them 14 years to recover that deficit. That's a long time. And the construction industry is going gangbusters, but they still cannot keep up with the demand, plus a 13, 14-year period where we had fewer homes coming to market and made it much worse for people buying. And so we had a huge housing shortage. Right now, the construction industry has not made it up to 1.1 million. Just barely over 1 million in 22. We'll see what happens this year. But just know this, if they build 1.1 million a year, it's status quo. We're never going to recover those 5 million homes lost. They're going to have to build more. So if they do 1.2 million a year, that's 100,000 extra. I didn't do the math on that one for this video, but let's just say it's many, many years to come. I mean, your grandkids might be able to buy a house easily. I don't know. But let's just hope the construction industry keeps growing and can build at least up to 1.5 million. They've never done it before, but we've never had this many people on the planet either. So, well, we'll see. Number 3 reason that we're not going to have a housing crisis anytime soon. I've been talking a lot about supply. Let's talk about demand. The millennials. Now, they're my favorite generation, actually. They're a little bit similar to us Gen Xers because we were not born into technology, but we learned it as we grew up. They weren't either. Now, we didn't really get technology until we're probably close to our 20s or maybe even our 30s. These kids got it when they were like 9 or 10. You know, they're pretty much digital and tech savvy. For the most part, as a rule, they're way more tech savvy. And there are 72 million of them. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. The next largest generation is the greatest generation, or no, I'm sorry, the baby boomers, and that was only 52 million. What we have to do is figure out how we're going to work around this. That's this whole reason for this video. The demand for these houses is astronomical. Because let me just run a little scenario by you. Right now, National Association of Realtors say that 2/3 of people in this country own their own home, 66%. So let's take that 72 million and let's take out 63%, 66%. And you're going to come roughly 50 million. Maybe a little bit less, but just work with me on the numbers because they're so big that being off a couple million is not going to matter. So that's going to be roughly 50 million millennials are going to buy a home. 15 million have bought already. So that leaves 35 million millennials still looking for a house. On average, we sell about 4.5, 4.75 homes a year on average. In 21, we built a little over 6 million. I forgot the number for 22. That may not even be out yet. But this year we're projected to sell about 4.3 million because of the market and the interest rates, and people have kind of taken a step back, some people. With an average of 4.75 homes being sold, let's just round that up to 5 million. And if you've got 30 million, 35 million people looking to buy a home, and just those people bought a home, and we only sell 5 million a year, it would take 7 years just to finish and sell all the homes the millennials required. That's just millennials. I'm not talking about the Gen Xers, the baby boomers, the Gen Zs that are buying homes now, the institutions that are buying homes. We don't have enough homes. We're not going to have enough homes for a long time. So that's why, another reason, we're not going to have a housing crisis. Or, well, a crash like we did before. We got a crisis, we still don't have enough homes, and we can't get them anytime soon. All right, so we've got to this far, and I really appreciate you hanging in there. First step to getting to qualifying for the Amazon gift card is you need to like the video and subscribe to this video. Like, subscribe, and comment. That's 3 times your name is in the hat. Okay, there's going to be more. We'll come at you later. All right, appreciate you hanging out with me so far. So, give you an idea. Again, it would take 7 years just to sell houses to the millennials to finish that up. I don't know how we're going to do it because before the millennials were buying homes, we were selling 5 million a year. How the heck are we going to do that? That's a good question. That's why we're in this predicament. This is one of the reasons. The millennials' median age, it's 34 and a half, maybe 35. And according to NAR in 2022, 36 was the median age of a first-time home buyer. And who's roughly that age? Millennials. So there they are. They're now the youngest ones, they'll come in a couple of years. But a lot of them, they're in home buying territory now. And they're looking. So that's a huge, huge influx of demand or buyers, if you will. So that plays and puts a lot of pressure on our supply. Number 4, institutional ownership. That's hedge funds, investment companies. We're talking about large companies that own hundreds of houses, maybe thousands of homes. Early 2020, large institutional buyers, hedge funds, this came from the Census Bureau and a little bit of NAR. I had to dig around for all this information. 5% of all the rentals in this country are owned by hedge funds or large institutions. You may not think that's a lot, but that's 700,000 homes. That's a year's worth of homes that were built during the Great Recession. Those 700,000 homes probably not going to see the market again because when they buy these homes, they rent them out. And right now, you know, rents are very high and you can make all kinds of money doing that. They're not going to sell them. And if they are wanting to move on from different houses, like let's say they want to get rid of all their $400,000 homes. They'll package those puppies up and sell them to another investor that wants a bunch of $400,000 homes. They take that cash and go buy $600,000 homes, whatever they want to buy. And then so that other investor that bought them, they're not going to sell them because they're making money on them hand over fist. And when they get tired of that inventory, they'll sell them to another investor. Do you see how this is working? It's just a constant churn, if you will. Those homes will be gone forever. In 22, institutional buyers bought 24%. That's 1/4 of all homes sold. And this is according to NAR. That's a gigantic jump from last year. It was only 11.8%. They've doubled. And who knows what they'll do this year. They've slowed down, everything's slowed down, but they're still buying homes a lot, left and right. In 21, they only bought 13% of homes in institutions. So I mentioned before, when investors want to move on, they'll just sell them to another investor. Now, this phenomenon has happened and it's impacted the Sun Belt more than any other part in the region, any other region in the country. I can't even talk today. That's not to say that other states weren't hit hard either. I mean, Vermont and Washington State institutional buyers purchased 7% in 2020 and 17 in 21. That's a significant jump. In 21, 5 states had the highest share of investor purchases. Georgia at 33%, Arizona at 31%, Nevada at 30%, California and Texas at 22%. That's a lot of institutional buyers. And let's be honest, those guys have cash. Cash is king. And a lot of buyers, when they're trying to sell their home and they're looking to buy another home and they have to sell this one to buy that one, that cash offer comes across the table, closing in 3 to 4 weeks or what have you, even offer a rent back period. That trumps any borrower with FHA or regular VA loan or just regular conventional loan. That trumps them because majority of buyers are going to go that route. Now, I know I've seen on message boards and stuff, people say, well, the sellers need to stop selling to these institutions. That's easier said than done because I'm not sure what I would do if I got an offer on my home and it was at least what we offered or what we were selling it for in cash, going to close in a shorter period of time with no inspections or appraisals. That's hard to say no to. That makes it really difficult for the rest of us trying to buy a home with a loan. Can't blame the sellers because if you were in that position, you probably would too. Not all of you. Now, I want to dig down a little bit more locally here for the Charlotte area. In 21, Redfin said the fourth quarter of 2021, 32% of homes were purchased in Charlotte were bought by investors. And that's higher than the national average. The national average is 15%. Now think about that for a minute. 1/3 of homes sold in the last quarter of 21 were purchased by hedge funds and corporations. The median price of those homes in that time frame, $305,000. That's also a really doable price for first-time home buyers. But these institutions were snatching them up. And they can afford to pay a lot more because they know equity is going to be increasing. They've got the cash. They don't mind paying $400,000 for a house that's priced for $300,000 because in 5 years, it's going to be worth more than $400,000. They're playing the long game. Side note, if you're in real estate and want to buy a home or you're renting and want to buy a home, you got to think long game. You can't look at today's rates and today's market price. You've got to look at in the future. Housing prices have always gone up. Always. Yes, from 2006 to 2011, they dipped. Actually, 2009, they started coming back in 10, and 11, and 12, and then it just kind of went on from there. Keep that in mind. You've got to play the long game when you're buying a home. If you're just here to make a quick buck and want to live there 2 years, if you buy now, your equity is going to start building right then. Great way to hedge against inflation because you've got a set payment. Your rent payment's going to go up next year. Your house payment, it's not, unless taxes and insurance go up a little bit, but it's not going to impact you that much, okay? So with all that cash out there and these companies throwing stuff at you, cash at you, it's really hard to say no. And that puts a squeeze on the buyers. And finally, interest rates. A lot of talk about interest rates right now because 2 years ago they're at 2%. Now they're at 7.5%. So that's a huge jump. And it's on the top of everybody's minds. Like, what the heck is going on? Well, if you remember back in 2020, before the pandemic, the rates were around 4%. Sometimes they dropped below 4%, but that's a really low rate. Historically, the rate's around 6%, 6.5%. It's historically average. This is well below that average. And in January of 21, the rates dropped out to 2.65%. That's the lowest they've ever been. Don't expect that to happen again anytime soon because I don't think we'll have another pandemic to cause that and they'll do things differently. So I don't think those rates will come back. So what you have are 62, 63% of people in this country have a mortgage under 5%. It'd be really hard pressed to get out of that right now with your home. You know, if you don't have to move, you'd kind of like to. you're not going to sell right now because you're going to wait and hopefully interest rates come down. But this is where playing the long game comes. A lot of people don't play the long game. If you buy a house now, yeah, your interest rate's high, but in 2 years, 3 years, your interest rate's going to come down. Think about where your rent's going to be in 2 to 3 years, and that's 100% interest rate. You get no benefit of that money, not 7% like you're paying now. So 62, 63% of people in the country have that low rate. They're going to be really, really resistant to sell. And for good reason. I don't blame them. I'd be hard pressed to do it too. So just keep that in mind when you're buying, and you know that, or when you're looking for a house. A lot of these people have these low interest rates. They're not going to sell. Two things you need to consider here, and this is very important. In 2020, when the rates started dropping in 21, houses were falling off the shelf. Man, there were sometimes I'd be putting a sign in the yard and start getting phone calls and even emailed offers, and it just hit the market. You remember that time. It was really crazy. So for that low interest rate, people can afford to buy a much larger house. And then when the equity goes up, they're in the clear, man. They're paying 2 or 3% on a $600,000 home. That's a sweet deal. Why would they give that up? Now, some people have to sell because of relocation, family issues, or family, want to be closer to family. And they will sell. But that's not the majority right now. Just keep that in mind. Other thing to consider is this. Interest rates right now, 7.5%. And sales have slowed down noticeably. Not crazy, the end of the world, we're going to a buyer's market. When those rates drop, and they will, they always drop, just like home prices always increase. Now, they may not increase year over year like you would like, but if you play the long game, just think if you bought a house in 2011, that's 300% equity in Charlotte since 2011. That's a lot. Keep that in mind. But if the rates drop below 6, or heck, even get in the low 6s, it's going to be Hunger Games Real Estate 2.0. We had Hunger Games 1 back in the pandemic, and we're going to get back in that because there's a lot of demand. Did I show you all the millennials that are out there ready to buy? And they really can't because the interest rate's high. If they drop, they're going to flood the market again. And we're not going to bring any more homes to the market. So you do the math. You can buy now, pay a little more, or you can struggle to buy and pay a lot more for a home just to get it in the future. That is definitely something to consider. Now that's it. I really appreciate you hanging around this long. I've really tried to make it interesting. I don't know how you make that stuff interesting, but if you have an idea, let me know. So the final piece of the puzzle is this. You're going to like the video, you're going to share the video, and you're going to subscribe. Sharing the video will give you another name in the hat. And if that person shares the video, then you get your name in the hat again. So like, share, subscribe, comment, and if they share, that's 5 chances to win one of the 2 gift cards we have here. Get out there, get to sharing, ask questions. Ask me questions in the comments so that we can really hash this out, because I really want to help people understand the state of the housing market. And it's not going to crash. We're having a really tough time finding homes to sell, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to go away anytime soon. So I appreciate you staying around. Got more videos coming up about each one of these situations and what we can do to try and maybe help that situation and give us more homes. Who knows? And I've got some other videos coming out soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so that you know when I have another video out. You can come watch it. Man, have a great week. I say man. Everybody have a great week, and we will see you in the next video.